Hello ladies and gentlemen of District 31. This is Daniel DiNardo again on YouTube, bringing you another discussion about some of the important issues that face the state of Alaska and the voters and people who live in District 31. I'm standing for election to the House of Representatives for the state of Alaska. I've already had one YouTube presentation regarding Mark Begich about his criminal felony fraud along with Tony Knowles that compromised the Alaska Student Loan Corporation and the Post-Secondary Education Commission because those two worked on a plan that had been instituted to intensely overcharge 27,000 student borrowers more interest than their promissory notes, a contract called for under their agreement with the Post-Secondary Education Commission. I reported them. I was the internal auditor that caught them at this felony act. Nothing's ever been done. I filed a federal case, I filed a state case, and on both sides the attorneys and the judiciary intervened because the ramifications for the state of Alaska, for Tony Knowles, the Democratic Party, and the Attorney General's office, Teresa Williams, she helped design the fraud. The legislature, they had two members that were involved. It was a massive fraud, the largest student loan fraud in United States history, and all the parties escaped justice. They escaped criminal justice, and I intend to bring them to justice with an independent investigator who can look at the hundreds of documents that I collected as the internal auditor, and we're going to have an independent prosecutor because you cannot trust the State of Alaska Attorney General's office. It's composed of nothing but criminals, either under Governor Palin, nothing's changed. It's the same thing. These attorneys are in and of themselves a power to themselves, not answerable to anybody else, and they're protected by the courts because they all belong and are members of the Communist Bar Association. They're all Communist card-carrying party members is what they are. They've totally destroyed the foundations of the Republic. Tonight I'd like to mention some other fraud that Mark Begich was involved in. Many years ago, he had his mother front for him in obtaining government loans that were meant for residential houses. And Mark Begich had his mother obtain the loans, and he was going to use them for his residential properties, which was absolutely forbidden. Well, when he was caught and when it was exposed in the Anchorage Times, a newspaper in circulation at that time, he forwent his fraud and made sure he didn't use it for that and gave the money back to the government. Also, if you lived in Anchorage long enough, you remember how he had instituted when he was mayor before. He was on the city council. He was mayor. He wanted this electronic, standalone traffic monitoring systems that could issue tickets, a very fallible, fault-ridden system, but it was a revenue generator, so he was all for that, violating people's constitutional rights, and but that was taken out because of the public uproar. One thing that distinguishes Mark Begich, he'll do anything for $1. Absolutely anything. He's always trying to gain new revenues to put together his own personal projects, like that new convention center downtown. It's going to be an absolute financial failure. It's built at the wrong time. It's in the wrong location. And there's another interesting aspect to that. On Westchester Lagoon, along the bike trail, there's an attorney, Thomas Owens, who owns a home there that abuts the bike trail. And Mark Begich allowed him to expropriate over 5,000 square feet of public property in the wetlands there because Mr. Owens wanted more privacy, didn't want people coming on there and enjoying a picnic. It was a big issue in the newspaper. Well, I sued Mr. Owens, I've sued the city, and I've sued Mark Begich because I was threatened with arrest for being on public property. Mark Begich knew all about it, and he stated openly in the press that there's no way he was going to undo that deal. And one of the people involved is a Mr. Dillon, who's in Parks and Recreation and Planning. He's a friend of Mark Begich, and he was also, as an independent contractor at one time, he was involved with the prior owner before Mr. Owens in putting in trees and shrubbery to block off public access to property abutting Mr. Owens' property, and putting that up as if it was a barrier, and generating basically a green fence to keep the public off of public property. So Mark Begich, when you take a look at the friends that he has and what he's involved with, he's continually always in the criminal mode, and he's just a worthless felon. The man belongs in jail, regardless of his father dying in a plane wreck. That has nothing to do with his qualifications for office, and I've never heard any qualifications in related to those two aspects of his father dying in a plane wreck and him being eligible for public office, because he is an absolute felon and a criminal. At this point, I'm going to terminate this discussion And very shortly, I'm going to prepare another one on another very important issue regarding the Soviet Union and Alaska and some very critical issues. Thank you very much.